in blockchain technology, or simply want to know how the technological world is evolving around us, then in that case, this webinar is for you. Let me introduce to our speaker today, Mr. Sachin Narode. Sachin, along with his co-founder Rachel, are running a Travel 3.0 platform called Xeni app. Xeni is improving the entire travel experience using blockchain. They are democratizing the online travel agency space by addressing the major pain points for travelers, travel professionals, and inventory suppliers. So this was a glimpse of Xeni app. So let's dive deep into the details of Web3 with Sachin here. So just before starting the session, I would request all of our attendees to drop their questions in the chat box, and we'll pick those questions at the end of this webinar. All right then. Hello, Sachin. Welcome to this webinar.
Thank you for having me, Nyanda, Vivek. Thank you very much. Looking forward to speak with you all. We could get started.
Yeah, thanks, Sachin. And we are really happy to host this session with you here.
Of course.
Then. Yeah. Okay. So, Sachin, let's start with first question here. So I see there is so much talk about crypto, NFTs, and blockchain, everything that is associated with Web3.
Right.
And different people define it in different ways. So I really wanted to know from you, like, what exactly is Web3 and where is it taking us in the future?
Absolutely, and I'm so delighted to be in front of this many engineers, and thank you, Techspian team, Sanjay and Marvel, and most of the entire Techspian, Vertec, and Zentrum Hub team. So, Nanda, to your first question, I mean, we'll have to go back to the history how Web 1 is considered as Web 1 and Web 2. Web 1 roughly started around 1990s and lasted around 2005. The companies came out of Web 1 were like Yahoo's, MSN's, Netscape, and then they were very open protocols where builders would create something with read and write version. So it wasn't like you could go and interact with the web. What if you look at it post 2005 to 2020, what happened? All these silos, centralized services, they became more valuable when customers started interacting. So it became an application economy, platform economy, where you as a user who could go on Amazon and interact with their software and buy something, sell something. So the e-commerce activity basically spun out of Web 1 and gone to the Web 2. You look at, and the entire Web 2 version, if you look at it, the product was you. It wasn't the product was like shoes or anything. So what happened is companies in terms of adoption and attracting customers, they started collecting the customers' data. And that customers' data was the main angle or a conduit to access the internet. If you look at it, Google completely survived and thrived on consumer data, and that data has been sold to the businesses so that the buy behavior get matched to the over the internet. Same with travel, same with many other functions, including banking and all of that. But the main challenge with Web 2 was we had to build the financial services who would back as a trusted third party. And if you are paying over online, then someone else has to vouch that Nyanada has made the payment, and the company should send the goods to Nyanda in exchange of that payment. But the third party becomes the bank. What happened in the Web3 era is if you combine the payment and if you combine the Web2 element of buying and selling, Web3 basically revolutionized by just announcing a digital token, a native token for the people to interact. Owned by the builders and users, where you are not the product. So think of like you're playing a video game and you have a VR goggles on and you're going through the metaverse and checking something. Now, if there is a shoe company in that metaverse, you would go look at the shoes, you will buy the shoes like as if you would do it in a physical store. But now the shoe company doesn't own your data. They can't send you anything. You control your data. In Web2 economy, You were served the ads based on what you have purchased in the past, what your likings, and all of these algorithms, all of the buy behaviors, consumer behaviors were shaped in Web 2. Web 3 is completely changing it. So the next generation will control all of their digital identity. They'll control their data, and they will only share with the community they think are fair, and they'll start interacting on those platforms.
All right, that's really great, and thanks for simplifying Web3 for us, Sachin.
Mhm.
Sachin, as we all have witnessed, and you just mentioned that we have evolved, we have seen the evolution from Web 1 to Web 2, and now we are
Mhm.
in Web 3. And now with Web 3 professionals and enthusiasts talking about Web 3 as future of internet, so how will this Web 3 is going to impact our businesses, or what will Web 3 bring for businesses?
So first, you have to look at the problems with the centralized platform. Okay, centralized platform like Google, centralized platform like Amazon. Then what would the entire? If you look at the predictable life cycle, you will build a software, and the entire game plan is to attract the users. You recruit the users by spending money. You're doing everything. Web 2 has a different identity. If you look at the Web 3 platforms, the way they behave is you don't recruit the users. Users are there. Their wallet identity is there. They are going to simply jump from one chain to other based on their needs. They might want to go on a Polygon. They might want to go on Ethereum L1 or L2. They might want to use shop on a different chain, or Avalanche or Aave. Um, that's what. Did I answer your question? If you want, I could clarify furthermore.
No, Sachin, it gives us the idea about
Mhm,
how it is going to impact the businesses definitely.
mhm.
So yeah, thanks again.
Yeah. Yeah.
As you mentioned that there would be impact on business definitely, and so my next question would be like, are we really entering a new era of digital transformation, or is it just a hype? Because there were so many ups and downs we have seen in crypto world, which makes us think so.
So let me give you a little perspective. Okay, there are a
Mhm.
couple of takeaways. If you look at biggest content creator in the world, now it's TikTok and Insta, but truly it was a YouTube and Spotify. And what happens? You create the content, and YouTube has paid around what seven to I think Spotify paid $7 billion to the content creator, and YouTube has paid around $15 billion. I'm talking the numbers of last year. So content creators were creating the content and putting on the platform, and based on the views, they were getting money. Now look at how the business will be completely impacted, or how Web3 is real or not. Let me give you the perspective. So have you heard the concept of decentralized finance, DeFi?
Yes, yes.
So think about all the world's bank. Take top 100 banks in the world. But the money which is committed on the decentralized finance, DeFi, is now 31st in the ranking. So if you take entire banking infrastructure of the world, the DeFi bank is 31st, and it's climbing up very fast. As the industry moves towards a larger adoption, it is here. I mean, if you look at 31 number is not far away from getting into the mainstream, because that means there is a money available in the DeFi, and if that money could be accessed, it will also impact the consumer behavior on the Web3. They will ditch Web2 because it's far more secured and control over the data. The moment people will start realizing how better it is, the entire industry will start focusing on it. I mean, the mere innovation is 10, 12 years old, post Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper. The amount of money got invested into the internet, Web 1 and Web 2, in multi-trillion dollars. And it took some time to adopt, but it came, so it is there. This is the we're right now at the cusp of changing the entire, or writing a new piece of history into the internet world, and including, I think, this will also change the how the organizations will function in future.
That's great. Thanks, Sachin. So, so when we say about Web3, it's all about decentralization. You just mentioned how it will secure the payment in future using the Web3 technology. So, does that, I mean, this decentralization and users having ownership of their own data. So, does this decentralization really matter? Because I know some of the individuals who doesn't have any concerns about social media using their personal data for different purposes. So, I wanted to know like how it is going to really matter for them who really doesn't care. So, yeah.
So let's say you are an user of a decentralized platform, right? And I, instead of going more technical on more on a 10,000 feet overview, on an overhang view, what I would recommend is you personally yourself create a wallet, and the wallet has a private key and a public key. So anything you buy, sell, anything, you control your wallet identity, nobody else. If you share your key accidentally with someone, then they do control it. It's truly a very encrypted world where the data is secured. So there is company of Berlin. They are doing this. The company's name is Data Union DAO. What they're doing is any user who forms an wallet identity on their piece of decentralized network, they're giving them this key, and their data cannot be shared without their permission. For example, think of your passport, and travel is a classic example. There have been many breaches. Marriott lost the customer data, 35 million people's personal private data, including passport, social security, with a breach and hack. Here, that possibility is slimmer unless someone really do it. Whatever the hacks and lost bitcoins or things we are seeing in the world, it is either due to the user leaking them, writing them on the piece of paper, or they're more about user behavior losses than actual hack.
Okay, thank you, Sachin, for this explanation with the simple example. So, as you are coming from a travel industry, so could you explain like how will travel businesses or any other business evolves from Web 2 to Web 3? I mean, as you mentioned that payment is secure payment is one of the key thing in uh, switching to Web 3. But what are other aspects for businesses to look at it?
So, well, the question has two parts, like how they will switch to web from web 2 to web 3, and then the second part is what are the aspects. Can you repeat the last part, please, so that I can.
Right. So second part was like, as you mentioned, that securing payment is one of the key aspect, right? From switching from Web 2 to Web
Yeah,
3.
yeah.
But what are the other things why businesses would try to move from
Yeah,
Web 2 to Web 3?
yeah. Let me. So, travel is the most chaotic, complex ecosystem, redundant with the technologies starting from 1980s, and everything is built on top of it. So, if you look at it, the airline reservation system, if you look at it, every single time the innovation happened on internet, travels was more of a main motivating factor. How you can sell it, how you could settle the payment, how you could how you could pass the customer data from one geolocation to another. The way this will get adopted. So what is the major reason of adoption? Businesses are spending a lot of money in centralized services and losing a lot of money by not having efficient business process. For example, you make a booking on Expedia, that money goes to Expedia first. Then it goes to consolidator, and then it goes to the service provider. For example, you booked it at Hilton, New York. You spend the money on Expedia, but Expedia doesn't pass that money for 60 to 90 days. Now, the cost of payment settlement is anywhere between 6 to 9%. The time of settlement is somewhere between 60 to 90 days. And also the data, the Expedia is maintaining its centralized database, has own unique booking ID. Consolidator has its own unique booking ID, and the terminal Hilton is managing its own reservation ID. And the problem is when all these three things gets collided, when account reconciliation happens, like, hey, then she actually didn't stay, or cancel or reschedule. Look at the same situation there, like, so to to look at the administrative cost and the improvement cost, they are losing anywhere somewhere between 6 to 9%. Then I'll give you another example, and we're talking here more of a oligopoly. Um, Google is the biggest I would say elephant sitting in the room. What it is, we decided to move all the third parties, middlemen, travel agencies, all of the people who are reselling travel. We took them out, bought it on the internet, and we said, hey, we removed the middleman. It is for better. And what happened? The entire internet is moving through Google. So Expedia and Booking spend so much advertising dollars, so every customer's attention is sent to Expedia and Booking.com, and they became bigger and bigger. So now I look at whatever you search, I send it to this website, and you end up going through that channel. So it's inefficient, it is expensive for the consumers, and it is expensive for the businesses. So when businesses start identifying that it could be done simply, easily, and they can save somewhere between 6 to 9%, there is no brainer for them to adopt this tech. The adoption would come by convenience and usability of the technology, not because it's slick and sexy.
Right. That's fantastic, Sachin. All right. So, moving to next question. Um, I wanted to know, like, how does the database work in Web3? I mean, do I have to store all data in the blockchain, or how does it work?
So every company has a different way of cannibalizing data, all right? And then right now, the way Web2 work is garbage in, garbage out. People use the relational databases, people use non-relational databases, and we query everything. In blockchain, it's just think of like a simple ledger, auditable ledger. So when you record an entry on a blockchain, it creates a hash, and that hash is representing the data which might be stored anywhere, whether it could be IPFS, or in a cloud or in any database. But the point is, you have created a entry in the ledger which is pointing to the data wherever it is. So it's not that all of the time we're saying, oh yes, everything is stored on blockchain. No, it doesn't have to be. It depends on what functionality you want to bring out.
That's fantastic again, Sachin. So we have 10 minutes left. So before moving to last question, I just want to inform our attendees that after this next question, we'll be taking questions from the audiences. So be ready with your questions. All right. So finally, Sachin, we are concluding this session. So what is your advice to the young engineers who have listened to us till this point? Because there are people who are looking to the future to build their own businesses.
Um, First and foremost, don't think it is hype.
Hmm.
Like the biggest problem of the technology is vast. It's not only at the fintech, it's not only at the travel, it is not only at the e-commerce, it is touching every single business and trade which is done on internet today. So if you are an engineer, you are out there and you know this technology is talking to you, go and learn about it. Don't waste your time. Understand where you want to start with. If you want to be a coder, be a coder. If you want to be managing the product on the technology, manage that. If you want to sell the tech piece, you want to understand how the decentralized application will be layered on top of multiple layers. Understand that. Anybody who's interested in gaming and metaverse, it has already taken over majority of the world's tech talent, and it's been hypnotizing for thousands of builders and developers. So if it is not to you, you are missing the point. I think, and in terms of if you want to look at the career wise, want to make a lot of money, this is the industry who will be giving you job for next 20 years.
That's really great advice, Sachin. I hope everyone has learned something new today. So, all right. So, time to take the questions from audiences. So I see there are questions in the chat. So first we'll take the question from Mr. Akshay Aire. So he asked how this decentralized version of web will provide data security. Is it reliable than previous versions of less advanced gadgets?
Um, well, the data security is still there, right? At this point, I'm not saying that it's not there. Um,
Right.
is that the only problem the industry has? No. I mean, if you look at it, yes. How it will provide the data security? Yes, the entire 64-bit encrypting of the blockchain is unbreakable. So that alone itself is a secured. What we're looking at is there are not only one kind of data you are sharing over the internet. The problem is every time you build a bridge from one centralized data to another centralized data, that bridge is the hackable. It is not that database. Many times the database is very well secured, but the moment you port it to somewhere, where the moment you start communicating, that is hackable. The blockchain itself is built over the bridge by bridge, block by block. So it is completely encrypted and secured. Again, I would recommend you to learn more about how the data is being stored in different blockchain networks, how they're handling. A good example, Akshay, would be looking at Zcash, how they how they create an anonymity of an user on their entire network.
Thank you so much, Sachin, for taking that question. Moving to next question, this from Manish Karekar. So he asks how blockchain is the engine of the next financial revolution. This being the latest iteration of fintech as compared to traditional models. Can you simplify the functionality of the blockchain technology compared to the traditional, heavily centralized financial infrastructure?
So, uh, who's this? Manish? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So Manish, let me give you a little, and we got like 6 more minutes, but a little background. All right. What is it that the government has the most powerful thing on us in India or in United States is power to print the money and not give any accountability. So, for example, Modi or RBI could just print multiple rupees denomination bills, or Fed over here could print the dollar denomination bills, and then they could build their armies and police and everything, and became the vigilante of the citizen. The same with India too, or any other government. So, how the next financial revolution is coming? Just imagine if you exactly know the exact amount printed by the government of India, and they have not diluted your economy, they have not diluted your wages. Look at the inflation. So what is happening, what Bitcoin has done here is like, hey, there are only 21 million Bitcoins, and you can see it, all of them, and you can see all the wallet addresses. Now nobody will print them. So the demand and supply is based on actual demand and supply. It is not fabricated. So let's take that model out and start implementing in your within your smaller ecosystem. If you exactly know how banks are behaving and distributing the cash, what is actual ledger in real time, you would trust that bank more rather than just simply handing out your salary or pay slip into that bank. Why would you go and give 5 lakh rupees deposit in the bank, and then that becomes the Punjab National Bank and you can't even take your money out because they gave the money to Nirav Modi? They've been siphoning, they've been making, or ICICI, the biggest scam. I mean, and they're just hiding behind the wall. Or many Indian banks have been actively, not Indian, all over the world. I mean, HSBC has done, all the bad money has come in, bad money gone out. So the best part, the best answer to you, the bringing the transparency to the fintech world, to the real point scenario, is the biggest advantage of blockchain. Okay, that is the functionality of the entire blockchain tech. It is traditionally, it has been completely centralized. You are walled behind the entire bank's walls. You don't know what's happening behind the doors. Once you give their money, they could just fund some shady company who will never return that money, and they might go under any moment.
Thank you, Sachin, for explaining it in very simple format. So we have two more questions. Let's take next question. It is from Nilesh Bag. So he asked from where we can start grasping this technology. Any recommended contents?
Sorry, I'm just replying that I'm running late. Okay, all right. What was the question? Sorry, my bad. I'll
Yeah,
read it. From where we
yeah.
can start grasping the technology, any recommended? Hi, Nilesh. The number one is YouTube channel. Just go and look for that. There are a lot of explanatory video and start learning about it. I would say blockchain 101 is you should read the Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper, right? And that white paper lays down the entire movement of money.
I hope Nilesh you yeah, I hope Nilesh you got the answer. So, all right, moving to next question quickly, Sachin. So it is from Mayur Pawar. He asked, how can you measure the reliability of automated web accessibility evaluation tools and how it will ease the testing areas for testing folks or for normal internet users? So it is basically for from the aspect of testing.
How can measure the reliability of automated website evaluation tools, and it will be easy to test the testing fix for the normal internet users? I quite didn't understand this question. If you open the mic for them and we let him talk, so I can understand what he's trying to say here. How can you
Yeah.
measure the reliability of automated web accessibility evaluation tool? What is he
Mayur,
trying to say?
could you explain it in you know uh, in a detailed way?
Okay, so here is the thing. I'll try to answer this. I think he's asking, um, how would you find the tools to test um, the web3 applications? Let's say that. Is that what he's
Uh,
saying?
yeah, we can go ahead with that question as
Yeah.
well.
So what he's trying to say, maybe, and if he could clarify a little further, the Web3 application testing tool is already being built and developed. It's just the normal internet users are not fully aware, and usually they are within the ecosystem who are internal teams of these tech companies who have built them. And they're using internet. Think of like a Slack version, right? Slack was a communication channel within the company, and then later on became the product for the outside market. Very similar to that.
I hope Mayur that was your question, and Sachin has given a very good answer to that. So, all right, we have covered all questions here, and the discussion was very insightful, Sachin. So, thank you so much for taking your time out, and it was super insightful session on the personal level. And you expose us to, B2B side of the Web3 blockchain and a little bit of crypto world as well.
Absolutely.
Uh, yeah, I
Well,
hope all the attendees have learned very, useful things and new technology things from this webinar. Yeah, Sachin, sorry, you were saying something.
no, thank you for having me. I'm glad you can add me on LinkedIn or Telegram or Insta, whatever suits and feeds you need, and
Sure.
you can chat with me there.
Yeah, definitely, Sachin. And I hope there would be definitely more questions because this is such a huge a topic to discuss. And yeah, thank you once again, and all the best for your work that you are doing in the travel industry. Thank you
Thank
once
you.
again, Sachin.
Thank you. Same to you as well. Thank you. Wish you a good day.
Thank you.